Hey guys, welcome back to Critical Flick. Today I'm going to give my review of Terrifier 2. So I know I'm a little late to the party on this one. It came out last year and it had audiences just super hyped about it, but I didn't get a chance to check it out and I wasn't able to rent it on streaming until recently, but I was really anticipating this one. I heard all these crazy things about people walking out of the theater. People couldn't handle it. It was just too intense and too crazy. And I do think for the most part, it really does live up to the hype. Now, if you're a really seasoned slasher fan, this isn't going to be anything that's going to really shock you or amaze you. But if you're someone who's squeamish or really doesn't like gore, or you're not used to these really intense films, I do think it's going to be quite the ride for you. Now, this movie is the direct sequel to the 2016 film Terrifier. It's the newest outing from Art the Clown, who in my opinion has really solidified himself as a horror icon. And one thing I really liked about this movie is you don't necessarily have to watch Terrifier or even All Hallows Eve or anything like that to really understand what's going on here. And I'm glad they made that choice when it comes to the plot of this film, because while it does link back to that movie and it is a sequel, you can totally watch this one as a standalone film. And I think it helps with newer audiences who maybe weren't exposed to the original film, because it wasn't like a huge commercial hit. It's kind of like a cult hit, but people wouldn't have known about it. And you can go into this one not having watched that film and kind of go back and watch them retroactively. So in this one, we see Art return and he is terrorizing the town. We're following our main character, Sienna, who's played by Lauren Lavera. And I think she actually did a really good job with movies like this and kind of horror movies in general. It can be hard to pull off really good and convincing performances, but I think she does a great job. I think she plays a very believable character and someone who you can really root for, and by the end of the film, you really see her grow as a person. And I think that's the best thing we can do with horror movies, is have our characters kind of grow and progress with the movie and not just be someone who's running around helpless screaming the whole time. The movie creates a really good balance between Sienna and Art. They're kind of the complete opposites. One's a heroic character who actually has angel wings on for a lot of the film. They feel very powerful and like a warrior, while the other one's kind of like this demonic clown, kind of the complete other side of the spectrum. So when they're clashing together throughout the film, I think the imagery of that works really well. And speaking of imagery, this movie does a really good job, in my opinion, of balancing kind of otherworldly supernatural elements with kind of grounded horror. So there's some really graphic and intense scenes with a lot of gore, a lot of guts and blood and everything you imagine from movies like this. It's some really disturbing imagery. Like really off the wall disturbing stuff that if you're not introduced to a lot of kind of graphic horror films, I think you'll be really taken back by this one. Then there's some almost fever dream moments of the movie, and it kind of keeps you on your back foot the whole time. And one of the things I want to dive into is kind of a fan theory that I've seen floated around. I haven't dived too deep into this film. I just watched it recently, but I did see there was a theory about Sienna's father being Art the Clown, because you learn pretty quickly in the movie that her father has passed. He had a brain tumor and he was drawing pictures of Art the Clown. He was drawing all these things that kind of made you think he understood what was happening or how to stop the clown. And there's kind of a link to his sword that was given to her by her father. And kind of that idea of him being her father, I don't know how that would work out, but when you're watching the movie with that lens, it kind of creates an interesting experience. Now, I don't know whether that could plausibly ever possibly be true. Maybe we'll see that explored in another movie, or maybe it's just a complete fan theory. But I would be interested to see what you think about it, because the one thing I really like about Art the Clown is he is so bizarre, and yet he's still very stoic. He doesn't talk, he looks like he's laughing, but he never really makes any noise. So he's really disturbing in that kind of mime state, but it makes you really interested in what's going on. Where does he come from? What are his origins? Maybe who is Art? Is he an otherworldly creature? Like, what is going on? Obviously, by the end of the film, if you watched it, there's like some crazy stuff that goes on with him, and we've seen it in the past. So it really does create a lot of deep lore for this character. And that's one thing I like in my horror icons, is that there's this like layer of mystery to them. It's not just a normal person or just an average killer. It is someone or something that is this unstoppable, otherworldly force. And as far as the visual effects, I think it really pulls off what it's trying to pull off. It does have those classic B-movie elements to it, which people that are fans of this genre really enjoy, but I do think the budget and the overall production of it is good enough that it never comes off as like fully silly. The movie does have kind of a dark humor to it, but it's not anything that like an average humor would be. It's like horror humor, if that makes any sense. So I do like that it kind of balances both those things of being so ridiculous and so over the top that it's almost comical, but still being really disturbing at the same time. I will say that if you're someone who really analyzes the plots of these types of films, you might be a little disappointed. It's not the most like sophisticated or most fleshed out plot, but I do think it leaves enough air of mystery, like I said, that it intrigues you to want to learn more about this world. And there's so many weird things happening that you kind of interpret what's happening differently depending on who you are. There's also this little side character that is later revealed to be kind of Art's first victim. So like kind of that integration of this character not being able to be seen by some people, being seen by others. Maybe that means something. Maybe it doesn't mean anything. Maybe everything's just fully crazy. And as the audience, we're just experiencing a fever dream of a film. But I do like that it gives you that opportunity of kind of trying to peel back the layers of it. Like all good horror movie franchises, the movie does leave an ending open for an ability for there to be a sequel. And I do think with the success of this film and kind of the cult following that it's built over the years with Art the Clown, we're definitely going to see another one. I don't know how you top this movie because I think it does everything that a movie like this could do at the highest level possible. I think it is so much better than the first film. Not that I dislike the first Terrifier film, but I think that this one is in leagues above what you could ever expect from movies like this. We had a lot of really high quality slasher films like this, and I do think that this one is exceptional. So if I were to rate Terrifier 2, I would give it an 8 out of 10. I had heard a lot of hype about it, but I didn't know if it was just one of those things where people hadn't ever seen a movie like this and it kind of got this wide release in theaters, and people, movies like this normally don't get a wide release. And the fact that there wasn't a lot coming out, maybe it kind of just got propped up, but it really is that good. And if you're a fan of the first film, I think you'll think this is way better. If you're a fan of slasher horror, I think you'll like it. If you like that graphic B horror and even has kind of that 80s heyday of horror vibe to it, it really is a love letter to what you think of as a horror fan. And I love that the director and everyone involved in it, you can obviously tell they put their heart and soul into this movie, and it shows on the screen. So if you checked out Terrifier 2, let me know what you thought about it. Did you like it as much as I did? Maybe you're someone who is not into these kind of movies and you just so happened to stumble upon it because of the hype or because it was in theaters and it really disturbed you. I can definitely see that happening. And I don't fault anyone for not liking movies like this. It is very specific to like this kind of genre, this kind of niche. And I think you can appreciate it for its technical aspects. You can say that, it's too graphic, it's too intense, it's kind of like a smut film. But I do think that if you look at it from a technical aspect, from like a horror, creating a world building aspect, it really is something special. So again, thanks for watching. Remember to like and subscribe, and see you guys next time.